Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to welcome you to our meeting tonight. We would like to make sure that our audience is aware that this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available on the school webpage shortly. The board does anticipate recording through June of 2025. At that time, we will evaluate whether to continue doing so prior to the reorganizational meeting in July. We will utilize survey results and community input in making this decision. We would also like you to know that if you ever have questions or concerns, that the board strongly encourages you to utilize the Honeoye Central School chain of contact. This will ensure that topics of importance to you are directed to the appropriate person and can be looked into in a timely and efficient manner. Before we proceed, please make sure that cell phones are set to silent and turned off so that we may carry out board business without disruption. Jen, do we have anyone signed up to speak during public expression? Okay. Carol, before you begin, I'll just read while you're getting to the podium. Thank you for your interest in speaking this evening. Public expression will not exceed 30 minutes. Each speaker has no more than 5 minutes and will be given a 1-minute notice if needed. Once you are called to the podium, please utilize the microphone and state your full name and address. Please know that personal comments about or directed at a student or students, specific school personnel, a member or members of the Board of Education, or a community member or members are inappropriate and will not be tolerated. Doing so will terminate any remaining time you have left. We encourage communication and value input from Honeoye Central stakeholders. However, we will not respond at this time. Items brought to the attention of the board may be taken under consideration for future response or inquiry. That's okay. So Carol, just so you know, she's got a 1-minute card. She'll flash yellow at you when there's 1 minute. So, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening. As you prepare for the upcoming budget and discuss timelines tonight, it was my hope that you will start the process by reviewing and revising the district's reserve plan. Maintaining reserves is critical and it's an integral part of the district, but you really need to look at the reserve plan and follow it. You're out of compliance, and follow the OSC or Education Department guidelines to avoid excess balances in the fund reserves. Costs are being budgeted and fully paid for from the general fund appropriations, not from reserves, and this has led to a buildup in the funds. So my ask tonight is to review and update the reserve plan now before budgeting. Set specific targets for funds where the max is not mandated by law. If you want to increase a specific reserve fund for a specific reason, then add it as a line item in the budget instead of adding it to the fund balance, adding to it from the fund balance left at the end of the year. And this will have full transparency to the public and will follow the state guidance. Set funding levels that are not excessive and include the interest that you earn on each account, just to help with the avoiding unnecessary increases in the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We're all set then, Jen? Okay, we will move on to kudos. Does anybody have any that they would like to share tonight? Okay, I have a couple.
Go ahead. Do you want me to go first?
No, Megan, go ahead.
Okay. I just know Jury was here tonight. I know they did Rotary distribution of books today. So I want to thank you, Rotary, for all the books that they donate to the kids.
I just have 3. I'd like to say thank you to Kate Van Laer for setting up and hosting the financial aid informational session last night. for a class of 2025 students and the parents and guardians. She brought a SUNY Geneseo financial aid advisor. There were 31 people present, 16 of them were our students. I thought it was extremely informative, and it was very nice to see such a large turnout. The woman that came and did the presentation was surprised because she said, "We should get one or two." So it was really good. I'd also like to say a thank you to Lori Campbell, who continues to invite the Board of Education to partake in activities for wellness. She recently sent a gratitude challenge email to include any board member who wanted to participate independently. I shared the challenge with my fellow board members. I don't know if anybody else decided to do this, but I am working on mine. So, and then lastly, I would like to thank Natalie for finding presenters for our meetings, and thank you to the presenters. This is a great way for our community to get to know about all the opportunities and amazing things that happened here. I have heard from a few people that did watch the last recording we did, and there are people that didn't realize some of the services that we did have here. So that it's a very good thing, and people can go back and look anytime. So thank you. So next we'll move on to Board of Education committee reports and updates. I think Megan has something.
I know I spoke a couple weeks ago in the legislative committee meeting. I just had it this past Saturday again for my third meeting. There was 13 in attendance. We went over I sent them to you guys, the federal position papers and their state position papers. I'm gonna have John add them to our board docs tonight so that they are available as well. And I hope everyone was able to take a look at them. So if you have any questions, that's all that we really worked on in the hour and a half that we all met. And that's about it. Yeah, no problem.
Does anybody else have anything? All right, I'll do the facilities subcommittee report. Just to bring everybody up to date, we are still in the design development stage of the capital improvement project. At this stage, we have two types of meetings. The first is our bi-weekly design development meeting. The second is a meeting to address and discuss specific areas and take a deeper dive into that area. Our last meeting was Tuesday, November 12th. This meeting was a deeper dive specific to the home and careers renovation. At this meeting, the teacher had the opportunity to look at design ideas and give input and feedback to the subcommittee and the members of the SWBR team and affiliates. We discussed floor plan options and design, taking into consideration load-bearing walls, line of sight, plumbing, and best use of space for teaching and learning. We will meet again on this area in the upcoming days. Our next meetings are scheduled for 11 o'clock tomorrow and 3 o'clock tomorrow. The first meeting is specific to the one area, which is the playground. And then the second meeting tomorrow is our design development bi-weekly meeting. The subcommittee will provide an update at our next board meeting on December 18th regarding both the meetings from tomorrow. And then lastly, if nobody has any other updates, then we just need to approve our Board of Education goals for 24-25. So I would need a motion on that. And can I get a second? So that's Jim Sykes for motion and Jim Helling for a second. Can everybody just make sure their microphones are working, please? Is there any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's passed. We'll move on to the superintendent report. So Superintendent Fluke, the floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, hello and thank you, Tori. Tonight, we have a special lineup to showcase some of the outstanding work performed by our staff, impacting our students in such a positive way. We will also hear from project manager and architect, Dr. Joe Kosorek from SWBR, who has done an outstanding job working with us and with our engineers on our capital improvement project. We will welcome our occupational therapist, Alicia Kuhn, to the podium, and our Director of Pupil Personnel Services. But first, I am honored to turn the microphone over to ex officio student and board member, Isabella Nellis.
Alrighty, I'll get started here. So I started off, I'm just doing some highlights on the school right now. So these are just a few clubs that are going on right now. I know our last board meeting was not too long ago, so not much has changed, but there are some nice changes. NHS, those juniors who I said that were accepted into NHS, their induction is tomorrow in the cafeteria. So that's very exciting. I don't know if you guys have been invited, but I'm sure you guys are more than welcome to come. The peer tutoring groups, that's one of our clubs. We are meeting at least once a week with our tutees. That's what's recommended. Sometimes, depending on students, needs to be a little more. Our art club, they're currently working on murals, and soon they're going to be working on watercolor Christmas cards. Our French club are had their pie and coffee sale. And then I believe it's tomorrow, they're having a little like get to know Aisha, who is our foreign exchange student. And then they're also about to do their exchange with I know it's a man from Senegal. So he's going to be coming rather soon. And then our yearbook club is working on the sports pages, the fall sports pages in our yearbook. And then for our sports who have just started, so cheerleading and track and field kind of go hand in hand with their problem. Cheerleading, we're doing very well. We just had we're doing gymnastics. So we have our modified and a few varsity members go to in Canandaigua Eagle Gymnastics once a week for the next 5 weeks. And then track and field, they just merged with Bloomfield. So they were there this week. The only problem is that next week, Bloomfield's gonna be here. Usually track and field does their practice in our hallways, but for certain events, they do need those high ceilings that would be located in our elementary gym. But for cheerleading, to have our 5 mats out, to have that fit, we'd need to be in the elementary gym. Usually it can't coincide together because of the way the track thing, it goes diagonal for the event they need to use it for. And then our modified cheerleaders, they come in here, they fit 3 mats max, which it's usually 2 because the 3rd mat is ours. For the elementary gym, the ceilings are a little low in here sometimes, but they usually should be practicing with 5 is like a minimum just for spacing. So kind of they get a little confused when they have to go out in competition. Sometimes that causes problems. Basketball, our girls, they're working hard getting fit for the seasons with lots of conditioning, they said. And then our boys, they're working hard now, and I know they did a lot of work during the preseason. They were coming in early during the fall, a lot. They've been doing a lot. I know they've been working hard. And then bowling, from their coach, they've been practicing at Roseland Bowling, and that's where they have most of their matches. And then they are taking things step by step, he said, but he sees a lot of promise and potential. And then these are a couple like club shout outs because I think what they're doing is amazing. Youth and French Club came together to send school supplies to schools in Senegal. So they filled those 3 boxes held there, asking our staff and students to bring in school supplies. I know personally I brought in like 2 notebooks and some pencils. You can find that stuff at Dollar General, but they filled 3 whole boxes. And then it was a lot of money to get it sent to Senegal, but Youth covered that with their fall snack shack money. And then Youth to Youth also, our food pantry asked Youth to Youth and HCS to try to help 100 boxes of stuffing in the 4-day week that we had, and we raised 112 boxes. To me, that's amazing. That's just crazy. And then our food pantry, also I've seen on Honeyway Happenings, they are asking for some things to make sure that everybody has a good Thanksgiving. Some of the families they support, they've asked for 13 chickens, 17 turkeys, and 20 bags, I think 20 bags of 5-pound potatoes is what I believe it says on there. So I know there's a lot of us here. So anything that could help, I think that would be wonderful. And that is all. Yes. So our food pantry is located on Main Street. I don't know if you've seen it, like the little wooden, yes, that's where, I think in the post it says, well, my mom talked with her, but on her doorstep too, you could either knock on the door or leave it in there.
Thank you, Isabella. We so appreciate having you on the board. Your updates and what you bring to the table. It's my favorite part of the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and at this time, I would like to invite our architect and project manager, Joe Kasorik, to the podium.
Person button. All right, thank you. I'd ask I not get scheduled after Isabella next time because I'm going to be quite boring compared to all the great things you're doing in this building. So we're going to try in this capital project to support you and all that you do in this building. So I'll talk a little bit about schedule. This is the first update that I believe I've been here since we started design. So currently we are schedule, yes. Currently we are in the second of 3 design phases. So the first schematic design, or SD, which we like to call it for short. I know there's so many acronyms that come around the school, so I'll make sure that I spell out what these acronyms are for all meetings here today and in the future. Design development is the current phase of design which we're in. And of the third is construction documentation. So when we're done December 20th, I don't have that date on there and I apologize for that, but December 20th, we'll have the design development report complete and issued to the board for review. And then we'll have our third phase of design construction documentation, anticipating March of 2025, a submission to SED, State Education Department. So we anticipate, and I add in here, I want to be clear that anticipate each of these schedules after this. We are on schedule right now with design, but I do want to say anticipate when it comes to SED review. We're anticipating 6 months. We've given ourselves a little extra time, so 6 to 7 months here between the date we submit to State Education Department to the date when we receive comments, provide addendum or addenda multiple to respond, and then they provide a permit from there on. At that point, we're able to bid for construction. So we open the bidding process, and that will happen end of this year. End of next year, early into 2026. So we're giving ourselves ample time for anticipated schedule. The construction start looking at spring 2026. Completion in fall 2027. What we're currently working on, and we meet as Superintendent Fluke mentioned, and also Tori, thank you for setting the stage. I feel like I don't have to say much here, but I will. I'll be repetitive here. We're looking at what we call hazmat survey and testing. This is what typically people understand as asbestos abatement process. Also lead and PCBs. We're looking into that right now. It's a required incidental cost associated with the project. And from that test, we'll get the report back later this month, potentially early in December. And then we will make anticipated additional minor destructive testing. So sometimes there's things you can't see. The report is a visual report. Those samples are taken and then they come back, whether they're hot, whether they do have hazardous materials in them and need to be abated, or they come back and it's clean. There's other places, plumbing chases, that we do want to look at. And we'll have some areas in the floor at the gymnasium that we want to look at. We'll also have, we want to get above the ceiling in a couple places. We want to get behind plumbing chases. So we'll do that with the hazmat survey and testing. The elementary school and the district office, or the district entry, which we all came in tonight, we're currently looking at designs. We were conceptual in nature, and all the images that you see on the wall in the main foyer there, again, are conceptual. So we're going through and we're advancing the design at this point. So we've been through one iteration of that, and we will again in the near term here with those biweekly meetings with the Board of Education or with the administration and the facilities committee. We'll be looking at further opportunity to provide covered entries based on the conceptual layouts. Toilet renovations, and I skipped over home and career and programming, but we did have an initial home and careers programming meeting. We'll most likely look at another opportunity to meet with that group and get additional feedback on home and careers. The toilet room renovations, we understand now that the district has ample facilities based on the code, New York State building code. So we're able to take advantage of remediating those bathrooms, updating them, and then providing additional storage. So we're currently looking at opportunities to allow Mike Kessler some additional areas for much needed storage. We provided a roof evaluation report. Elvin Krupik in our office was out with Mike Kessler, provided the report. Mike will be reviewing that, and then we'll ultimately understand what type of roof will be used in the renovation. The technology room, this was originally the room where we were looking at equipment for shop and technology, and an opportunity was discussed for use of other space. So we're looking at that right now and advancing the documents and to understand the equipment's requirements for dust collection by code, fire suppression required by that code. So we'll have more information in the coming weeks about that. And MEP and site civil field work continues. You may have seen some of our site civil guys out here with a drone. So they were out here looking at the topography and trying to understand what we're up against with certain exterior additional work. Playground options. This is a big one, I know. Exciting opportunities for the playground, understanding what we can keep from the existing playground and what we need to provide for a safe environment for children in the future. So we're looking at different surfaces, different equipment, and also, again, as I mentioned, what we can retain of the existing to honor the hard work that was originally part of the community installation of the original assembly there. So lastly, we're working to hire a construction manager. So we're going to go through the RFP process, the request for proposal for a CM or construction manager. And that'll be happening at the end of this month and in December, and most likely a decision made in January. With that, any questions? Yes.
It might be nitpicking, but with regards to the playground, I heard you use the word safe. Is it going to also include inclusive?
Yes.
Thank you. Features for the community.
Yes, and we will, once we get to construction documents, when we have advanced all these, and you hear that word advanced, and we're going to be showing you stuff. And so I hate to tease, but we're in development right now. So I anticipate once we get into construction documentation, the third of 3 design phases, when we are taking what has been decided on and pushing those documents into an area where it's constructible or can be given to a contractor so they can put pricing to it. At that point, when I come back, and we can get into depth and some of the really fun stuff. So again, as I said, I'm going to be pretty boring tonight, but I did want to give you an update as to where we are. There's been a lot of hard work, especially on the district side, to make these decisions. I'm very thankful for the facilities committee and the administration for making concerted, but also quick responses and providing information that helps us stay on schedule. So we are currently on schedule, and we'll venture to stay the way. So thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
I want to just say thank you, Joe. Your communication, your thoroughness thus far throughout this process has been outstanding and greatly appreciated. So thank you so much.
I say ditto to you, so thank you, because it has been an enjoyable experience these last couple months. So we'll keep it going, and I'm looking forward to coming back and giving you some more exciting details. So thank you.
I just want to add too that when we were talking, for example, about the tech space, we did include Trevor Lane in those conversations. I think it was Monday, we had a meeting about the home and careers room. Sheila Madison Pease joined our conversation for that as the teacher currently in that room. When we talk about transportation departments and construction over there, Ray is part of that conversation. So we are including people in the building. We do have a meeting tomorrow about the playground. I'm really excited. They're going to be giving us some designs that will then be brought to the community. It's important to us that we have community feedback on that. So we have a quick turnaround because, as you heard Joe say, December 20th is the deadline. So this will be something that happens quick, but we will get that out for people to see some different options. As well as the covered porches. I'd like the covered entrances staff to kind of get their eyes on some of that. Okay. All right. And up next, please welcome Alicia Kuhn to the podium.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Alicia Kuhn. I am the occupational therapist here at Honeoye, and I work K-12 in our building. I wanted to share a little bit about my role here as an OT and kind of what I do and what I address with the students here. So we're going to go kind of over basics of what I look for, what I work on. How are kids different now than they used to be 5, 10, 20 years ago? And what can everybody do to help? This was originally made and shared with the staff in our building, so it's adapted a little bit for the presentation tonight. And I have up here OT and PT. OT and PT are very collaborative in what we do. So a lot of times we are overlapping in kind of how we're treating kids. We might have different endpoints in mind of myself working on fine motor and the PT working on gross motor, but a lot of times we're working really collaboratively in how we do things here. So PT is included in this as well. So what I'm looking at is overall deficits affecting school performance for our kids. So some of those things are sitting posture, how they're able to sit in their seats, on the carpet, in all of those different places that they need to be throughout their day. Their body and space awareness, can they kind of maintain their own space without being in other people's space? Can they walk down the hallway without bumping into the walls, touching the kids in front of them? Visual deficits, there's a lot of vision things that are being impacted in our kids these days and affecting their academic school performance. Sensory needs, balance and coordination, and just overall strength in general. So I am looking to improve those foundational skills so they can progress with their academics. If you think of it like a pyramid, they need to have those strong foundational skills in order to develop those higher level fine motor skills, such as writing, coloring, cutting, things like that. Vision is having a huge impact on our students lately, now more than ever. Think about it, a lot of kids are on electronics very, very, very early. Kids are not supposed to be converging their eyes to focus on something so close, so early. So their eyes are adapting in ways that they shouldn't be, creating issues visually, which is then causing kids to struggle to scan across from left to right when reading and doing things like that. Balance, coordination, body and space awareness has an impact on how they maneuver themselves throughout their school environment in every situation. So think about PE out on the playground, managing themselves within the classroom. And strength and coordination affects everything. Every aspect of what kids do is affected by their strength and coordination. Why are kids different now today than they used to be? The simple answer is electronics. And you can see in this picture right here, this kid is in a totally flexed position. He's holding that phone really close to his face. He's holding it with his thumbs only. So a lot of the PT concerns are affected that he's in that flex position. He's affecting all the musculature in his legs and his upper extremities. He's holding that really close to his face. So his eyes are focusing on a near point very close to his face, really before he should have those skills to be able to do so. And then we enter the realm of fine motor control, that kids are doing everything with their thumbs, and then we're putting writing instruments in their hands and they're struggling because they don't have the strength and coordination to hold the scissors or the pen or the crayon to do what they need to do. So the easiest way to develop these lacking foundational skills in kids is through play. Kids don't play like they ever used to. Kids are not outside. They are not playing. They're not getting messy and dirty. They're not rolling around. A lot of times kids are skipping the developmental milestone of crawling, which grossly affects their motor development. They're not crossing midline. They're not weight bearing. They're not working out of those primitive reflexes. We see a lot of kids in elementary school who now still have their primitive reflexes that they should have worked out of those in their infant stages. So a lot of times if you walk by the OT or PT room, where the fun room where we're on the floor playing with kids, because that's what they need to do to develop those foundational skills. They need to be doing the weight bearing, crawling on their hands and knees, inverting their head, spinning, swinging, all of those things. And we're working on really hard skills. So doing it through a fun way of play is getting them more motivated and willing to participate in those activities. So we're the fun room. I touched a little bit on vision. This is really becoming quite the epidemic in our youth these days. Myself as an OT, I a lot of times can look at vision and do a general screening and see if there are any red flags. Then I often am referring to outside resources to do a developmental eye exam. I am referring several kids on my caseload every year to go get a developmental eye exam, and then they're doing vision therapy. So that's something really involved to really get those eyes to work correctly together to be doing all the things that they need to do visually. So think about it. If you were struggling and seeing blurry double vision, think about how hard it would be to read and follow a line across the page or orient your math worksheet down in columns if you were seeing double or blurry vision. Core strength affects everything that our kids are doing. You can see the picture on the left. This kiddo is sitting on a wobble cushion and is able to sit up and maintain his balance and coordination. And you could see the kiddo on the right cannot. This is evident a lot of times when kids are sitting on the floor during circle time. The kiddo on the right can't maintain an upright sitting posture. So he's oftentimes in other kids' space. He's kind of flopping and rolling around, sometimes being unsafe. If your core is not strong, then you're going to really struggle to use your arms and legs and feet and hands appropriately and have strength and dexterity in those if you don't have a solid core and foundation. So core strength is really essential for everything that we're doing, looking at OT and PT skills. How can people help? Whether it's classroom teachers, board members, parents, babysitters in the community, everybody can really kind of follow some of these suggestions. So incorporating a lot of developmental positions in play, being on hands and knees, laying on your belly, doing things like that. Any little bit helps. The repetition is the key to what is going to progress a lot of these skills. Pull out therapy sessions of what we're doing with OT and PT are not enough to make a huge drastic difference for some of these skills that the kiddos are struggling with. And as always, the therapy team is here to help consult with any teachers for any issues for kiddos that are struggling. So a lot of these things are things we do in therapy, and they're things that we're sharing with teachers to do. This picture is standing up at a table instead of sitting down and playing with putty or Play-Doh, and he's pushing down, he's getting some weight bearing through his arms. He's activating his shoulders, his neck, his core, all of those things, and doing a fun activity along with it. So it's typically motivating. This right here is a slant board. A lot of times this helps with visual fatigue. If you think about it, if a kiddo is looking up at the board at an assignment and then having to look down at his desk at the paper, back up, back down, there's a lot of visual strain that happens. You're having to focus at a very far point and then a very near point over and over and over again. And for a kiddo that struggles with vision in any aspect, that creates a lot of visual strain. So working on an elevated surface like this, then you're not looking down so much, you're looking up, looking up, looking up, looking up. It puts it at a more developmental position. And it also puts his hands in a better developmental position to use for writing. This is one of our favorites, and it's a very telltale sign. We work a lot laying on our bellies down on the floor. And when kiddos are in this position, they're really activating their core, they're activating their neck, their head, their shoulders, their arms. Everything is really working hard. It's a really telltale sign when we're doing big group activities and we have everybody lay on their belly. You would be surprised how after about 5 seconds, all the kids are rolling around and trying to get up because they don't have the strength and coordination to maintain that position. So this is a huge thing we work on in therapy. This picture right here is standing on a wobble board. So he's on an uneven surface. It's activating his core. He's using some tongs to do some fine motor work to increase those fine motor skills. This is another favorite, working on a vertical surface. Again, kind of like the slant board, it's activating their core and it puts their hands in a better position developmentally to improve that strength and coordination. Another thing we use a lot is different adaptive seating tools. So some of those kids that struggle on the floor, on the carpet during that group activities, sometimes giving them a different chair other than the typical chair. A lot of times that allows them to wiggle a little bit, get some sensory input, helps them focus better. And then here is a little video that myself and Kelly, the PT, we take a lot of time and effort and pride in this every year, and the kids and teachers love it, that we do a motor movement pathway in the hallway. And we change it up every year. We do a lot of different things to encourage some movement throughout the kids' day. It's in our main hallway typically, so a lot of kids can use it during natural transitions to the cafeteria for lunch, if they're going to specials, if they're going out for recess. A lot of times we're doing a lot of jumping and things like that, especially this one right here, changing positions. It really makes their body and their mind have to work really hard to connect moving in different ways. We like to do things to force kiddos to slow down. A lot of times it's really easy for kids to run and do things fast, and they might look like they have great skills, but if you have them really slow down, a lot of times they fall apart because it takes more focus and energy and strength to go slow rather than to hurry up and go fast doing something. So this is one of those things that we really love and the kids really love too. And we personalized it this year doing honey oil bulldogs on all the crayons. Is there any questions?
I find this extremely fascinating, and thank you very much for bringing it to us.
You're welcome.
I had no idea.
Jim, you gotta use your microphone, please.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that I don't have a question, but I'm extremely fascinated by this. It was a fantastic presentation. And I had no idea that this type of thing, especially the visual thing, was a problem. And thank you very much for bringing it to us. And Natalie for getting it set up. Thank you.
So I want to say too, thank you, Alicia, and Kelly is in the audience too. Thank you. Work is so important. It is so interesting, as Jim said. And every time Kelly and Alicia present, I learn something. I walk away with a wow, that is amazing. I go home and I'm doing things with my own kids, and it is just, as you said, fascinating. And I'm glad that she was willing to come out here tonight and do this despite her nerves. Thank you very much. Can we give Kelly and Alicia a round of applause? All right, and now we're moving on to updates from our Pupil Personnel Director, Stacy Talon.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for hosting me tonight. And also thank you for allowing me to work at such a wonderful place. It has been an honor, and I'm super proud to be a Bulldog. So the focus of this presentation is on relationships. The theme throughout my interview process was the importance of relationships. And not only do I know that it's important to the HCS community, but it's super important to me as well. So the first thing that I did to form relationships here was to host one-to-one voluntary meetings with the teachers and the related service providers. And I was pleasantly surprised that 99% of them scheduled a meeting with me. So I learned a ton. I was able to meet with them on a more personal level. And also I learned a lot about the community during that time. One of the next things that I did was I visited programs. So several of our students are in out-of-district placements. So I visited the programs that I've never been to in the past first. So I visited Mid Lakes, Red Jacket, Norman Howard, Bloomfield, and Marcus Whitman. And the principals of those programs gave me a tour. They told me details about the programs. And it was a great way for me to connect with the people at BOCES. The next is I have on-site meetings. So when I have a meeting for a student who is out of district, I go to where they go to school. That way it gives me an opportunity to meet with them face to face. I get to talk to them beforehand. I get to talk to them afterwards, and I get to be with the families and their teachers. Right. So since I started, I've had 34 CSE meetings and 5 504 meetings. And in those meetings, the families come, the students come. So that also gives me another opportunity to spend time with our students and families. And then I attend the monthly regional CSE chairpersons meetings. So that's all the PPS directors in our region. They get together and we learn about the new state regulations from New York State Department of Education. We also ask each other questions. We gain a lot of information from each other and a lot of support. So that's been another a wonderful way to build relationships outside of this building. Also, I'm collaborating with the Naples PPS director and the Bloomfield PPS director. So what we're doing is we looked at all of our students' needs, and we're hoping to develop programs within our districts to meet those needs, rather than send them, outside to out-of-district programs. And then another way is just, things, going to things in the evening, going to things on the weekend, like working the concession stand, going to parades, and another opportunity for me to spend time with people outside of the HCS walls. Oh my gosh, I didn't do this. Okay. Whoops. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm going back. End of summer, fall. There we go. Okay, I'm up to date now. Okay, so this is the most fun one anyway. So I also drop into classrooms and do APPR observations. So that gives me an opportunity to get in the classroom, see students, spend time with teachers. And also I was able to bring my therapy dog, Bentley, here last Friday, which went really well. So he had appointments all day where he visited classrooms. I got to spend a ton of time with students. They learned about Bentley, and I learned a ton about all of their animals as well. So that concludes my presentation tonight. Do you have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
So Stacy talked a little bit about relationships at the beginning, and anybody who has worked with Stacy has known just the relationships you've already built in the little bit of time that you've been here. Thank you very much. And we're just so glad that you picked us. So thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Stace, can you actually hand me the clicker?
I'm not doing well with this clicker
That's
at all.
Right, and just lastly, I'd like to acknowledge Dan Delmet and Molly Perrin, both participants on our CRSE committee. but who are also leading the district's work in elevating student voices. This project is new this year. It's an effort to bring students from multi-districts together to meet and gather, listen to different perspectives, build relationships, and to learn from each other how to recognize and celebrate differences. We have 4 students participating. So thank you to Audie Huppo, Chloe Brunk, Emily King, and Owen Higgins. Dan and Molly, along with the students, have participated in 2 multi-district sessions already at the Boe Season Newark and will continue to do so throughout the year. They are tasked with identifying and implementing a project to increase student voice here at HCS. I'm so excited for this work and we'll be working with the students as well along the way. So be prepared and look forward to April when they will be presenting out to you their project. All right, and that's it from the superintendent's report, although actually we still have the business portion of the report. So I'd like to turn it over to Mike at this time.
Thank you very much. First up, I wanted to present and share with the board the budget calendar for the 25-26 budget development season as it comes upon us. The board has had a chance to view this since last week, and I just wondered if the board had any questions specific to this calendar. Of course, the board's version went past January all the way through May. The board will see that we did have sort of an option in April based on the timing of the budget from New York State, and may remember last year that we had an earlier budget adoption date and then the flexibility to move 2 weeks later. We have that again this year, again, depending on what happens in Albany with discussions of foundation aid and executive, then legislative, and then compromised final budgets from the state. So we have that built in. So then we would ask the board to adopt this budget timeline calendar for this year.
Nobody has any questions directly for Mike, then could I get a motion to approve the 25-26 budget guidelines?
I'll move.
Can I get a second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's passed.
Great. I also wanted to bring an update tonight in regards to electric bus fleet electrification. The board will remember we've discussed this a lot over the last 3 years or so, and may remember a 2027 date and a 2035 date. 2027 being the first year as it now stands in state legislation and NYSED regulations that schools will only be able to buy zero emission buses starting in 2027, and that by 2035, a whole fleet has to be zero emission buses. And we've had lots of discussions and the board has considered lots of different perspectives and opinions on that as we all follow the news and follow what's coming down from Albany in that regard. NYSED, again, is requiring that we're showing progress and taking steps towards implementation and towards those regulations. August of this year, there was a survey that was required of all public school districts in New York State that we completed just to say what we have done, where we have been, what we have considered, some of our capacity maybe for the electrification of a fleet. And we did actually do an electrification study with Cornice Technology the summer of 2023. We were early. We were early in getting into that fleet study, and that was completed. Everything was fantastic. And then New York State has now required a different kind of study, a more exhaustive study. So now we're going to have to do the more exhaustive study as well. Next slide. So again, we did our early initial study in 23-24 with Cornice Technology. Now they're requiring the more detailed one. NYSERDA, which is a New York State governmental agency for energy considerations and environmental considerations, and things like solar power and electrification. So NYSERDA is going to cover 75% of this new larger study. So 75% paid for NYSERDA. We would be paying 25%. The 25% is $13,000. This is a $54,000 study. Okay, we will be paying $13,000, but we'll be working with Cornice again, and they are going to credit us the fact that we did an initial study with them. And about a quarter to maybe a third of the work they'll have to do for this study, they already did for us in the first study. Okay, so they're going to apply that towards us. So our end cost will be more like $8,000. Next slide. So I will bring a contract to the board in December at our December meeting. I will be applying with Ray Thomas. We'll be applying actually through NYSERDA for what is called this Flex Tech program. That is the grant. It is not a competitive grant. We will get that 75% paid by NYSERDA. And then we will work with Cornice Technology with their contract. So they will begin the work in winter of 25 and then have a report finalized for spring 25. And then next August, when there's another survey update for New York State, we can say, yes, we did the electrification study that was required. So we are progressing accordingly. And then any information we get from this study, we would share with SWBR as we continue to work with them and in the future, if we need to make considerations for our electrification capacity and at the bus garage, then we would be working in tandem with our architects with the report results. Any questions in regards to that study? Again, I do not have the contract for you tonight. I wanted to kind of give the overview and then let you know that I'll be coming with that in December.
I just want to say, Mike, thank you for being on top of that because at my committee meeting, a lot of schools are pulling their feet and not wanting to do this. And it is something that is going to go through, and it's whether you're going to pass or fail and see if you have it or not. And if you don't have it, you're going to get fined is what they're saying if we don't have it by that time. So thank you for being on top of it and keeping us informed.
You're very welcome. And next I wanted to resurrect or bring back from last year about this time, monthly comprehensive budget reports. So the board will remember, I think we started this 2 years ago. We definitely did this last year. This is for information only, as is our comprehensive budget report to the board once a month. We'll highlight a few current budget lines each month, give some explanation, some clarification regarding the spending trends for some of these lines. If it appears to be underspent or overspent, some of the reasoning behind that. For the purpose of transparency, I will say heading into this that we are very likely to see more lines that are overspent in 24-25 than we've had, and fewer lines that are underexpensed, and to a lesser degree than we've seen in the past as well, due to the continued commitment to tighter budgeting. And we will see that borne out over the next several months as we go through these. So first slide, I have 3 examples for tonight. We'll go to the first one. So first, I'm changing up a little bit. So I'm coming with sort of a statement and then an example to go towards that statement. So the first thing to remember is that many lines remain unexpensed until later in the fiscal year. So when you look at the lines, you're like, oh my goodness, there's still $600,000 unspent in teacher retirement system, or there's $500,000 in this line or that line. That's because there are several lines that are only spent at the end of the year. So throughout the year, you will say, well, there's still a lot of money there, still a lot of money there. That is appropriate and accurate. So some examples include debt service, that's paying of our interest and principal on prior capital projects, the ERS payments for civil service retirement from the district to the state, teacher retirement system, TRS, for the same for teachers, social security and FICA taxes paid by the district. Those are throughout the year. So as we generate payroll and pay payroll, we are also paying that tax. So the expenditures there compound over the year. And then budget transfers typically happen at the end of the year. So something like the capital outlay transfer of $100,000, we will likely see unspent for the vast majority of the year until the transfer is made as an accounting function. Specifically, I mentioned the serial bonds, principal and interest. $208,000 are budgeted. 0 have been expensed as of last week when the report was printed. December, we will make our first payment. In June, we'll make our second. So then the board will start to see those payments. So there's just an example of how the timing of certain things through the year, you'll see expenses later in certain lines. So in this next slide or this next example, talking about special education programming costs and that they are always in flux, and we do our very best. In the spring, we talk about, remember, the budget is a 24-month living, breathing thing, even though the calendar year is only, or the fiscal year is only 12 months. So remember that we did our special education planning, pre-planning back in January and February, and then adopted a budget in April and passed it in May. So we have students move in, students move out, Students can shift between maybe a BOCES special education placement and a private placement. Again, we have students in and out. And right now what we are seeing is we have two lines of tuition. I know it's hard to see. We have tuition for private placements and then tuition or services at BOCES out of district placements, okay? And so for the private placement, we've had several students come in and needs change. And so our budget was 408,000. And we are actually on track to spend over 600,000, okay? So that is already reading as an encumbered deficit of $256,000, okay? And the flip side, our BOCES special education program, we're about projecting $70,000 under expensed. But again, that can change with a move in or a move out, a move away. So we have a lot of different things going on here. So this is one we'll continue to monitor and plan. Know that when we do budget, we keep special education and its variability in mind. And that was done last year, as it is done every year. But you can see with the example of the private tuition increases, this is something that we continue to monitor. And it's a very difficult portion of the budget to accurately project every year. Next slide, third example. Hourly wages. There are certain departments where when you look at the comprehensive budget report, you will see very large numbers earlier in the year that are still available or appear to be unexpensed. Those are for hourly wages. So clerical, maintenance, civil service, non-annualized transportation salary codes, these all show as being underspent early on, but they will all trend towards zero as the year continues. I looked at those and those numbers in each of those departments for payroll really are very solid and on track to project right close to zero, okay? But right now they look as though there's a lot of money that will be unspent. Our salary codes, salaries are encumbered for the year, okay? So you get a better sense of that, but the hourly, I wanted to make that distinction. To the finer point, 36% of the maintenance and grounds payroll has been spent, and we are 33% of the year in the books, 4 months out of 12. Okay, plus we had some summer employment in there in maintenance, so that's why we're a little bit ahead. Sizable balances will dwindle as the expenses are on track for that payroll. So that was kind of what we'll be doing throughout the year. I wanted to pick 3 specific examples to share what the budget variability is, some of the explanations behind that. So that's what I brought you tonight, and we'll bring a few others next time. And then my final update is in terms of the emergency project. The board will remember I presented last meeting about the emergency project for the air conditioning in the auditorium, and the board approved that project. The board member has the authorization, the ability to approve a local emergency project, and that's what you did last month, earlier in the month. Thank you very much. And tonight we bring forward the contract with SWBR to do that work, to do that design work and the engineering behind that. They are our architect on retainer, if you will, from the RFP process a year and a half ago. So we do not need 5 different architects to bid on this work. They are our architect through the RFP process. And this is the proposal they have brought forth for the emergency project so we can address the auditorium before next spring and summer season when it gets warm.
Do you want me to go ahead and do that now? It's on for later, but I could do it now if you want me to. The contract. You can just do it now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. I would need a motion to approve the contract, P2402.44, the auditorium AHU emergency project. Need a motion?
I'll move.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's passed.
All right, thank you very much. And again, the last 2 statements about the emergency project. We'll continue to update the board as the emergency project progresses, taking care of that letter of intent to the state to let them know that the board did authorize this project and that we are intending to move forward, and we will do so in accordance with emergency project protocol and procedures.
I have a quick question. Mike, remind us again, is there any kind of ventilation going on in the auditorium? I mean, we have gatherings, in concerts and such. And we're in flu season now too. So do we have the means to keep the air moving around in there or?
I'm going to refer to Mike Kessler on that to get you an answer, and we'll get that back to the board.
Thank you.
Okay, then we will move along with the consent agenda. I would need a motion to approve the minutes from the November 6, 2024 meeting and the CSE minutes. I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I get a second? Okay. Discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's passed. We have the treasurer report, the October 2024 treasurer report. You need a motion to approve, please.
I'll move.
A second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Right, that's passed. Moving on to personnel, we have a resignation. Upon the recommendation from Superintendent Fluke to accept the following resignation as from an elementary teacher effective January 7th, 2025. Can I get a motion?
I'll move. Yeah, I'll second.
Second, any discussion? All set? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's passed. We have appointments. We have upon the recommendation from Superintendent Fluke to approve the following appointments. We have a 24-25 Committee on Special Education alternate chair people, which would be Andrea Johnson and Rachel Davis. We would also have 24-25 unpaid assistant for modified JV and varsity boys basketball, a world language teacher, and a mentor. Can I get a motion on those, please?
I'll move. Oh, I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? All right, we'll move on to new business, old business. We have two very generous donations. Upon the recommendation from Superintendent Fluke to accept the donations, 2 would be medical office treatment beds to be used in the nurse's office. And 1 would be a Proform 22 cubic foot fridge freezer to be used in the foreign language department. Can I get a motion on those? Okay. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's passed. Tax roll adjustments. We need a motion to approve the tax roll adjustments. There's 2 of those. Can I get a motion to accept those?
I'll move.
In a second?
I'll second. Oh,
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's passed. Going on to tax collectors reports for 24-25 for Ontario and Livingston counties. I need a motion to approve those. Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's passed. Skip down from the contract because we already did that. Go down to correction. There's a correction that needs to be made. I need a motion to approve that. I'll just go through it quickly if everybody can understand. The below motion was made at October 9th, 2024 Board of Education meeting, appointing a cleaner. Motion by Megan Basil, seconded by Jerry Passer to approve the following appointment. There's a probationary position for a cleaner to begin November 1st, 2024. Let's see. And it looks like we would need to change the language to probationary position of a cleaner effective October 30th. So can I get a motion on that, please? Can I get a second? Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's passed. Then do we have any comments from the board?
I do. I have a question and about, I know that there's been a couple of issues about transportation issues from BOCES kids to track in Bloomfield. And I know that Mike and, or Ray and Mike both looked into it, not Mike. Ray and Ray's looked into it, and the coaches, I believe. But it's an issue that keeps coming up about the kids from BOCES being able to make sure that they can catch the bus for practice to go to track. And I think that it's something that we really need to look at to make sure that it's happening so that we can provide the availability of that transportation for all the kids. And thankfully, it's been adapted to be able to happen, but I think that it's something that we need to keep in our awareness and take a look at. And then just the other comment that I wanted to make was just about the holiday hometown event coming up. I've sent everybody online. I sent a lot of you on messaged, or I put it on your email, depending on if you get Messenger, like Jerry doesn't get Messenger. The schedule of events for the holiday hometown event. And just, I'd like to make sure that the board is aware that the Finger Lakes Community Orchestra is going to be here Saturday evening for the concert. They came back and agreed they wanted to be here for Honeoye. They applied for a grant so that we don't even have to pay them. But last year we had an issue with lighting. Now, I do know that the committee chairman has met with Mike today, Mike Kessler, and they did talk about lighting, and he's going to try to take a look at to make sure, because last year the community orchestra was kind of upset because the lights were where they were set, or they either weren't working or set and they were shining in their eyes. They had trouble playing. I mean, they've done a lot to get this, to make sure that they can be here. They've done a grant to be able to take care of it. Anyways, I think that we need to make sure that that's happening. And also it'd be nice, people from the board can be there to at least partake in the nice, it's great music. It's a good Christmas time. So that's all I had. That was my comment. Thank you.
Jim, is that the 7th? What is the day after the parade?
Yes, it's Saturday night, right? It's after the vendor village is Saturday during the day, and then the concert is at night. It's a great concert too. They did fantastic. They got they're bringing a vocalist with them this year, and it's going to be a really nice concert. So thank you.
I'll see if I can get somebody to help out with the lighting. I actually just got trained today, so.
Did you good?
Yeah.
Well, I do know that Shayna met with Mike, and he told her, he would take a look at it and see what he could do. He said, unfortunately, limited budget, and they had some problems. And we got the new board coming too with the project, the capital project. So it's kind of, everyone's got to be flexible, including the orchestra, but still it'd be nice if we can do the best we can for them.
Jermaine?
I asked at some point in the beginning of the year about when a good time would be to bring up the possibility of discussing a vet exemption in our school taxes, and y'all said it was November, and now it's November. So I would like to bring that up again, see if we can't at least discuss it. The possibility, at least, or maybe the possibility of extending the option to the town to decide themselves.
Do you want that added to the agenda for the next meeting then? And we can have a discussion then? People can provide more info at
Yes,
that time?
please.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I'll make sure it gets added. Okay, anybody have anything else?
I know that we signed up for concessions, and I'm sure Jerry will send out an email just to remind all of us. So just make sure it's on your calendar, the concession dates that we signed up for.
Anybody else? I just have a couple. Our next agenda set meeting is December 12th. So make sure that you have anything in to myself and Megan by December 11th at noon. The next Board of Education meeting is December 18th at 6:30. Board members are welcome to attend National Honor Society induction tomorrow evening at 7, as Isabella already talked about. And we were also invited to the Elementary Student of the Month, which will be announced on November 22nd at 9:15. Two last things. Now that we have approved our goals for 24-25, we should start thinking about the retreat that we wanted to host. I know that Jerry was the one that mentioned that, but just maybe be thinking in our heads and what we'd like to do. And then we could probably add that to an agenda and get it rolling. And lastly, I did let you know that during our agenda set meeting, we brought to Natalie that super eval evaluation because she's never done the process before. So we weren't sure, possibly if the board would like to discuss, because when we did our evaluation last year for ourselves, if you remember, we all went in together and kind of walked through it so that new board members could learn. So we would still be looking at Natalie doing her own at the end of the year, but some districts do a midpoint in the year. So if we could just maybe sit down with her and go through the topics and give her an idea of where she could be improving, or if she's blowing it out of the park on something, would everybody be willing to think about doing that? So, okay, good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we could probably pick a date sometime and figure it out, burn it out and go through everything with you and, okay, great. All right, does anybody have anything else? Okay, then I would need a motion to adjourn. Oh, actually, we have information, sorry. There's 3 informational pieces for the board on number 10. And then that would be warrants, a resolution, and a comprehensive budget report. And if there's nothing else, then we will adjourn. Do we need an executive? If anybody wants it, you have to have a reason why. All right, then I need a motion to adjourn. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Hello. How you doing?